Whether you prefer solving fictional mysteries alongside the stars of Only Murders in the Building, or you'd rather sit down to watch a hard-hitting drama like The Long Shadow, we've become a nation obsessed with crime.
Yeah, but what is driving our fascination with the genre? David Wilson is joining us now to pick apart our love for some of the most popular TV shows and films. David,
Hi.
Why are we so obsessed with crime?
Sure, but can I firstly just congratulate you? It felt like an early St Andrew's Day. Not only have you had 3 Scots, you had Iron Brew as well.
Delicious.
I think human beings have always been obsessed with stories. We've always told stories. Those stories hold a mirror up to society. They tell us how to behave. So the stories usually have a hero or a heroine, a villain or a villainess. And obviously, good is going to triumph over evil. So there's a sense in which those stories make us think about how to behave, how not to behave, who should triumph. And I think that feeds into our interest in crime, because in crime, you've really genuinely got a hero, and usually you've got a villain who's going to be overcome, and we want to work out. It's a puzzle. We want to work out, why do people behave in this way?
So it is normal. This is a normal thing to like this
I
stuff.
spend a lot of time trying to say to people that their interest in crime is not just normal, it's absolutely necessary. Because if we understand the circumstances in which we're likely to fall to be the victim of crime, we can take steps to avoid those circumstances. Yes, we can change our behaviour. We can avoid those particular difficult situations.
Yes.
And there's all different sorts of crime now. We've got domestic noir crime, to cosy crime. What do they all mean?
So domestic noir has really been the dominant trend in crime drama. And domestic noir is usually about a psychological thriller. There really is an exploration of our deepest fears, our darkest fantasies, our anxieties. And usually with domestic noir, we've got a police procedural. But crucially, the murder within the domestic noir will be front and centre of the drama. Sadly, we will hear all about the victim and what happens to that victim, and probably we will see what happens to that victim. Now, we're moving away from the kind of domestic noir into a new genre of crime, which is called cosy crime. And indeed, in America, cosy crime is sometimes known as feel-good murder. And in cosy crime, the murder itself usually takes place before the action of the drama. The person has been murdered, and we're going to try and solve the mystery of who killed that person. So we don't see the murder, and crucially, there's usually an amateur that's going to solve the crime. It's not a police procedural, it's Miss Marple. It's, you know,
I have to say I quite like that cosy genre. It feels weird saying, because you feel bad sort of describing any sort of murder as that, but I know what you mean. There's kind of a warmth to it, and the best example of this is Only Murders in the Building, which you got me into watching it, and I've zipped through 3 series. I think the final is on tomorrow night, I think. Selena Gomez, Martin Short, Steve Martin, incredible. I mean, it's funny, it's smart, it's just, I loved it.
So fans of Only Murders in the Building are known as Arconiacs, because the building in question is the Arconia, which is based on a real apartment complex in the Upper West Side called the Belle Noire. And I am totally addicted to this programme. And of course, initially, the programme started out as a parody of a real true crime podcast called Serial. And clearly, Martin Short, Steve Martin and Selena Gomez are podcasters who are trying to uncover who might have been the murderer. And one of the things about cosy crime is usually the person that's victimised, usually the person that is murdered, is not particularly likeable. And the person, sadly, who was murdered in this season of Only Murders in the Building is not a very nice actor. And in the previous season, it was Bunny, who wasn't a particularly nice person. But the season finale drops tomorrow, and I will be glued.
Is it all right? Because I think the reason why I feel guilty saying I like cosy crime is that, is it OK to make murder palatable? Do you know what I mean? It feels a bit bad, doesn't it?
I absolutely know what you mean. But listen, it's the dominant trend in literature at the moment. If you think about Richard Osman's books, if you think about the Reverend Richard Cole's books, if you think about Janice Hallett's books, it's all about amateurs solving murder. At the heart of it, and why it's OK, at the heart of it is a puzzle. People are trying to work out who done it. And that's the trend we see at the moment.
So what's the difference then between the puzzle crime and the cosy crime?
Well, the puzzle crime really started out very much as an Agatha Christie, Dorothy L. Sayers. You're going to be given a number of clues. Now, that's been brought forward into the current zeitgeist by being cosy. So it's usually about having an aspirational setting, someplace where, you know, like rural England or Venice, and I know you've just been to see A Haunting in Venice.
I did go see it, and it was much scarier than I thought it was going to be. That was not cosy.
Well, but it has its roots in cosy crime,
Does
A
it?
Haunting in Venice, because it's based on an Agatha Christie novel, The Halloween Party from 1969. And again, what Branagh is doing with that, I didn't particularly like the Murder on the Nile.
On the Nile, Death on the Nile, I quite liked that.
It wasn't for me. I didn't find it. I liked this because it did have a bit of edge, because I was shocked and surprised. And of course, all that Branagh has done is move Agatha Christie's novel from a rural English setting to watery, glamorous Venice.
I did love it.
But because of your background, do you know the killer straight away?
Yeah.
Do you? Or
Yeah.
when you're doing the puzzle crime? I thought...
Yeah, I get it.
That must be so annoying for you.
My wife hates it.
How
My wife
can you
hates it
enjoy
because I go, it's
anything?
that one. I picked a killer in Only Murders in the Building.
Oh,
If I'm wrong
don't you dare
tomorrow
say
night,
anything.
I will be very disappointed. But yeah, I usually get it right away.
Oh.
Sorry.
Disappointed.
No puzzle for you.
No puzzle for you. Two types of true crime. There's one that focuses on the timeline, and there's one that focuses on the victims.
The timeline true crime stuff would be, for example, Who Killed Jill Dando, the new 3-part Netflix series, which actually doesn't answer the question at all. It doesn't actually tell us who killed Jill Dando. It gives various theories, but it's going to follow the timeline of the murder and in particular of the police investigation. Victim-orientated true crime would be something like The Long Shadow. Have either of you watched that yet?
No, but I might go in this afternoon.
Classiest thing on British television at the moment.
Really?
The Long Shadow. Based on a true crime book by Michael Bilton called Wicked Beyond Belief, The 5-Year Hunt for the Yorkshire Ripper. It's focused entirely on the victim's perspective. And that's what makes it so interesting, because we're not discussing the psychology of Peter Sutcliffe. We're looking at the victim and their life and how their life becomes destroyed because someone within their family will be murdered.
And that's on ITV tonight, actually, at 9 o'clock, but you can catch up with it on ITVX as well. And tomorrow night, Only Murders in the Building is the final, but catch up on that wherever you can, because it's very good. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
David.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.